Luke here at SimBoxx. Welcome along to this week's episode of the Let's Talk Boxing podcast. And we're delighted, myself and Jamie, my co-host, as usual, to welcome on a very special guest. 2 weeks running now, we've brought on a special guest to the Let's Talk Boxing podcast. This week, I'm delighted to say it's the current, reigning, defending British, Commonwealth, and European super middleweight champion, the Trojan, Troy Williamson. Troy, thanks for joining myself and Jamie on tonight's podcast.
Yeah, thanks for getting me on, mate.
Very much so. So, Jamie, we're not one to fanboy, but certainly having someone of Troy's ilk on the pod is something we've been looking forward to.
Oh, massively, yeah. When you said it was on, I thought, yeah, all plans are going out the window. I had a few things to do tonight. I've had to shelve them all to one side and be like, nope, we're on for tonight. We can't have any messing about.
So, Troy, talk to us. How's things? How's life? I know you're out of camp at the minute, so you're enjoying a bit of downtime, a bit of freedom on the diet, maybe.
Yeah, that's it really. Just I'm back in the gym, but yeah, a little bit of freedom on the diet. Nothing too strict, but just keep myself in half decent shape.
So we'll start off back on the big night, the big win over Callum Simpson. It seemed to be quite an easy fight to be put together and to be made. That Troy, I think we spoke, and you was on your way back from Portugal. I think last time we had you on the channel, and you was looking out for a big fight there, and this got put out on social media, and it was snapped up quite easy by the fans and seemingly by the promoters. Was it an easy fight from your point of view to get put together?
Yeah, it was easy. Obviously after the Mark Dickinson win, we literally got a message off his manager saying, "Congratulations, Troy, massive win. The British Commonwealth and uh, the European shots there for you now." Um, Obviously, I bet they regret saying that and regret obviously calling me out as a voluntary. They must have just been looking at me, thinking I wasn't a big super middleweight, and thought, "Oh, we'll get him decent name in British boxing. We'll blast him out." But yeah, I've ruined their Christmas and ruined their plans on fighting for a world title. I'm next in line now for the IBF, and they've reactivated the rematch clause, which we'll touch upon. Just put a spanner in the works for me getting a world title shot, and just yeah, I just I think they'll definitely regret choosing me as a voluntary. I think they could just blast me out, because I knew exactly what I was going to do. I would do it as well.
Absolutely. So, Jamie, it was a fight that was very well received when it was first made. Everyone was like, "Yeah, this is a proper trade fight," and we'd been to see Callum Simpson win the European title. He was excited for this one when it was made. Am I right in saying?
Yeah. I was excited. You can't beat a good British dust up. But I'll be honest as well, and I know Troy, you don't take it the wrong way because I was going to touch on this with you. In the lead up to that fight, you just mentioned then yourself about how it was probably perceived from their camp an easy voluntary defence. And I think there was probably some people in the boxing world that had that opinion as well. Like it was probably an easy defence for Callum Simpson to then move on. Did you? Obviously, you didn't feel like yourself, Troy, as a boxer. No boxer ever going to go into a fight thinking I'm not going to win. But did you feel or sense that in like the boxing world when you were out and about, you're doing interviews and you was listening to what people were saying, and did that inspire you to go out there and put on a show? Because one thing about you, Troy, is people do write you off and you come back in devastating fashion.
Yeah, it did spur me on. Like everyone was writing me off. A lot of people. I remember Tony Bellew after the Mark Dickinson fight saying that I need to stay away from Callum Simpson because he's too big. Like I like Tony Bellew. Like got a lot of respect for him, great fighter, but like I thought he knew his boxing. Everyone was saying I was too small for Simpson, and like look, we both got weighed in 12 stone. Do you know what I mean? Like I boxed at this similar sort of weight 9 years ago for Team GB as an amateur, so I wasn't a million miles away from being a super middleweight. I was just boiled myself down to super welter. Got down to 69 kilos, which was very unhealthy for me. Like luckily, I think I come away unscathed. Nothing seriously happened. I could have been a lot worse because I had a couple of scares on the scales, but I didn't even make weight. So going into them fights, anything could have happened. But luckily it didn't. I eventually moved up two weight divisions, which kept on banging on to people saying it's my natural weight class. People probably thought I was talking shit or just bluffing it, but yeah, came back with the stoppage over Dickinson, which was a very good win, top prospect, and went into X Simpson's belt with him in devastating fashion. Wasn't a close fight. Like I bullied him from round one, I believe, and took him out there in round 10.
Yeah, funnily enough, yeah, like on paper coming into it, I thought Callum Simpson was going to win on paper, but from you know what, probably from the first round, you looked like you were going to win the fight, and even I watched it with my partner at the time, and I turned around to I think round three, and I was like, Troy's going to win this. From round what 1, 2, 3 onwards, you could just see that the fight was going. It was only going to go one way, and that was your way. Did you feel like that in the fight as well? Did it feel easy in there? No disrespect to Simpson, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. Like, do you know what? Like, it's mad because on paper it was probably me biggest fight of my career. On paper with the titles that was on the line, but when I was in there, I just felt supremely confident. I felt like I felt like I was running away with it. I felt him fading, and when he was fading, I was getting stronger. And after round nine, if you watch it back, you can see me go back to the corner, and I raised my gloves, I smiled at the crowd because I knew I was catching him with that slip backhand jab, like the first 1-2, and at the end of round nine, I thought I've got 3 rounds, man. I've got 3 rounds to get you, and I will get to you. And I knew I was going to get to him that next round.
Was the any part of, and we're not going to make any excuses here because you won well and you won very, very fairly. But with Callum Simpson, there's a lot of surprise with this rematch being invoked because they thought he might have moved up to 175. And from certain corners of the boxing world, they're almost trying to excuse the defeat in terms of maybe he needs to move up to 175. Was there any part of his performance when you're in there, you're in the clinch, you've been in the position where you've fought at 154 and been weight drained on the scales? Was there any part of Callum Simpson maybe giving away any tells that he was struggling with weight? Did you feel anything from him where you go, I've been there, I've felt that, you're struggling here?
Um, the only thing I could probably say that I was shocked with was his engine.
Mm.
He started fading. Where obviously he's normally, like you say, he's a very fit fighter, trains really hard. But when I've seen him in previous fights, he's been the aggressor and he's people back, bully people back, threw more punches than them, and he's basically outworked him. That's where he's got the stoppages where he couldn't do that with me. Like I was just center of the ring, but if he was 4 and 5, I was going to come back with 5. I was also pushing him back. I was answering when he was letting his hands go. So, and I think that it took a toll on his body. You see him shaking his arms out, and he hated every minute when he was in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's go through the past couple of weeks. You went on to stop Callum Simpson, of course, and you've won those titles. You was then looking at bigger opportunities. The IBF, they're looking for a challenger for Osles Iglesias. It was turned down by Jaime Munguia. Canelo's not going to be back from elbow surgery in time, so they've gone around and they got to your name, and it very much looked like that was a fight you was going to take, a fantastic opportunity to fight for the IBF super middleweight world title. That seemed to then get a bit murky with Callum Simpson and his team invoking the rematch clause. Can you kind of sort through the mess there? Where are we at? Is it definitely the rematch? Could you potentially vacate the belt? So have you got to fight Simpson? Where are we at?
I don't have to fight him. They can't force me to fight him, but they have activated the rematch.
Okay.
But now it's just paper talk. I know that they have to put it in writing to a match room within 30 days, but still we're way past them 30 days now, and I've still not seen nothing in writing. So I've not heard nothing. I was speaking to my coach yesterday, and I was like, if Matchroom have had it in writing within them 30 days, surely they're going to get straight onto me and say, right, they've activated the stream. Just so I know my whereabouts. But no, I've not heard nothing. So at the minute, it's still paper talk. I think if they have activated it, I think it's a stupid decision because I'll knock him out again. You know, I'll knock him out earlier, and then where does he come back from? Two back to back stoppage losses. It'd be hard to come back from. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where we stand at the minute.
What are you saying, Jamie? You surprised that Callum Simpson and Team Simpson wanted the rematch with the Trojan?
I am, and I'm not. I'm not because obviously, when you're in there as a champion and you've been undefeated, you want to wrong. You want to right the wrongs. But at the same time, I feel it was quite a convincing victory for Troy, and it was quite a heavy defeat in terms of he took quite a lot of punishment, and it may be best served for Callum to maybe go away and rebuild because, like Troy just alluded to, then if you get 2 back-to-back stoppages, which it could easily happen after the first fight, that is going to play a big role in where he goes in his career. And like we've already said, there was mutings of him going to 175. That might be the better weight for him. He might have preferred to maybe dip his toes in there. But I'm all for the rematch because it was a great first fight. But I think it's probably dangerous on Simpson's part to take the rematch, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, I think so. And it's something I mentioned there a second ago, Troy, if and putting you on the spot a little bit here, but if it was a case of vacating the British, European, and Commonwealth, if that was the case, I'm not saying it is, but would you vacate those titles to if there was a guaranteed IBF world title fight there with Iglesias?
Yeah, of course I would. Like, they'll probably find me or they'll sue me, but I've got the opportunity for a world title. Like, that's what I'm in the sport for. And like, opportunities don't come around very often. I know obviously knock Simpson out again, the opportunity's still gonna be there, but the opportunity is there. Like, it was right in front of me. Like, why wouldn't you let me go and fight for a world title, win the world title, and then come back and rematch it? I just think they've threw a spanner in the works and they've stopped me from getting my world title shot. So do you know what it is? Like, when you're saying there, he'd have had to go up to 175 and rebuild. I don't think he would have. He would have. Oh, just coming off one loss, he could have went straight up to 175 and jumped straight into a big fight. But once he gets knocked out again, then he will have to rebuild. Um, so like I said, it's paper talk at the minute. I don't know where I stand. Hopefully, I get some sort of news within the next coming days.
I think the interesting thing is as well, obviously, and you're firmly in the camp of Troy Williamson, putting Troy first, whatever's best for your career is going to happen. But looking at it from Callum Simpson and more so the business side of things, which is not a lot of boxing fans will look into. They just see the fights and see the results. But if we talk about boxer, we've seen them hemorrhage a lot of big stars recently. They've gone on to BBC. They're now talking of going with a platform with a pay-per-view outlet, and it's not going to be on the BBC. They've not got too many big name stars. Callum Simpson had a good following. If we're talking about trying to build somebody up, they're looking at taking this rematch. It's a very dangerous fight for them to take. And if they're looking at building their own stars to get onto a pay-per-view model, they're almost self-sabotaging there, aren't they?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. They're just thinking about themselves. They're basically funding to the Wolves, getting one last payday out of him. Trying to sell an arena, which I think the rematch will be massive and it will sell a lot of tickets and it'll sell out Leeds Arena or wherever they want it. But yeah, like you say, she's a promoter's meant to look after his fighter, and Ben Schlam's definitely not looking after Callum by activating his rematch clause.
So we've seen with this IBF, they've gone down the rankings a couple of spots. Munguia, Canelo, unavailable. Why do you think they're seemingly avoiding Osler's Iglesias and that you're running towards the fight? Have you watched too much of Iglesias, or what's he about? Why are you running towards the fight when others are seemingly ducking it?
It's a world title shot,
So
and I
it's not the
believe
opponent that worries you; it's the fact that it's a
yeah,
title shot.
yes, that like I'm not afraid of no opponent. Like any man with two arms and two legs can get knocked out, and I believe if I land the right shot on anybody's chin at 168 pounds, I'm going to hurt him. And just obviously when I hurt people, you see what happens. I'm a great finisher, get him out there. So the Cuban's a great fighter. He's very very skillful, but it's a 12 round fight at the end of the day. It's not a 4, 5, 6 rounds. So he can be as skillful as he likes. Like, I'm tough as nails. I've got a great engine. Nobody's hurting me, so you can have 12 rounds of hell with me. So getting past 8 rounds, and we'll see how good he really is.
Absolutely, Jamie. Troy seems to be the sink or swim man at the minute. If these fighters aren't swimming, he's taking them to some deep waters and drowning them. Real player at 168, isn't he, Troy? And we're not bigging him up because he's on the podcast, but we'll give him his flowers while he's here. He's took his licks, he's took his defeats, come up through the weights. Really exciting fight. One of our favourites to watch.
Yeah, 100%. Well, one of the one fight that always stands out for me was Ted Cheeseman. Like, for me, that will always stand as one of the great British fights that I've watched. It was just toe to toe, and I think that really blew Troy into the stratosphere, into the boxing world. And then one of the things I wanted to touch on was that really got you a lot of attention, got you a lot of was allowed to move up in the rankings and get bigger fights. Obviously, you suffered a few losses on the back of that, and everybody wrote you off. But you've come back. You're now British, Commonwealth, and European champion. Do you feel in this world, in this age of boxing, too many people are so heavily focused on not losing that some of the like better fights aren't happening, or we're not seeing the best of their abilities because they're maybe being too cautious and not, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it was obviously. I know, like now, Turk El Sheikh, His Excellency's got involved with boxing. You are seeing these fights getting made now, where the likes of certain fighters didn't want to fight certain fights, but now obviously money talks, isn't it? So they're getting offered whatever, and then these fights are happening now. Which I think it's great for boxing. Like I think the best should fight the best. Look at the UFC, the best fight the best, and I think that's how it should be.
Absolutely. Joy, I'll chuck a couple of fights at you that are rumoured to be happening in the super middleweight division at the top end. Hamza Shiraz and Diego Pacheco for the WBO title, I believe, is in the works. What's your thoughts on that fight?
Um, Good fight. I think it'll be a very good fight. I think it'll be a shootout. Um, yeah, I don't think it'll go good distance. I'll be back on Shiraz. He's a fellow Brit, so yeah, I'll be watching it with a keen eye. It'll be a good fight.
And then conversely, the Christian Mbile, Lester Martinez for the WBC super middleweight title fight is a possibility. They had a cracking draw the first time. What's your thoughts on that fight?
Lester Martinez, not seen him. I did get wind of Christian and Billy Canelo next, like, but I'm not sure how true that is then.
So let's move
Um,
on to this weekend's boxing then. A guy that you'll know very well, Josh Pretty Boy Kelly. He's going in with a very tough opponent in Bakhram Murtzaliev. We know not too much about Murtzaliev on these the UK shows. We know a lot about Josh Kelly. Murtzaliev seems like a big puncher. Jamie, this is a fight that we're looking forward to, and one where we might see Josh Kelly become the latest British world champion.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to see him in there. He's been around a long time now, Josh Kelly, and not really been had them opportunities to win the world titles. He's got the ability to win it, but I think this is a very tough fight for him. He's a big, strong lad. He's rangy. Um, for me, I think Kelly's got to use his speed, get in and out, conserve the gas tank, box smart, box clever, because he's a very dangerous opponent. And what he absolutely annihilated Tim Tszyu, and he made it look really easy. Not to say that means he's going to easily walk through Josh Kelly. Tszyu and Kelly are totally different style of fighters, but it's one where I'm cheering him on, but it's going to be a very, very tough ask for Josh Kelly on the night. But if anyone can do it, Pretty Boy can.
Troy, talk to me about Josh Kelly. I know you fought him down at 154, and we know that wasn't your best or optimum fighting weight, nowhere near it. But he's a bag of tricks. He's very skillful, very flair. One of these showbiz type fighters. Talk to me about your experiences fighting Josh Kelly and just how good is he?
yeah, he's good. On his days, very good, and I think he can cause anybody problems.
Where do you think he could have come unstuck here? You've been in there with him. You traded leather. Um, Murtzaliev is coming over as a power punch, like we say. We don't know a hell of a lot about him, but we've seen Josh Kelly fall apart against David Evnisian. Do you think at 154 he's still got that in him, or are we putting that loss and that the way he fell apart against Evnisian down to the weight at 147?
Yeah, I believe it was down to the weight. Couldn't see Asian fighting. Obviously, I know he was going through problems outside the ring. That he was taking it in the ring, so I know how that feels as well. Um, you need to be enjoying boxing. You need to be going into that ring 100%. You can't be going in 99% night. So you need to be going in 100%, 110%. So, and if you're not, then you're not fully ready. I believe that he's fully ready this time. Got a great team. Looks in great shape. So hopefully he can pull it off.
Will you be there on Saturday night? Will you go and watch?
Yeah, I'll be there, mate. Yeah.
Absolutely. We look forward to Saturday night. Troy, just before we move on with the podcast, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for joining us tonight. And yeah, we look forward to whatever's next for yourself, whether it be the Callum Simpson rematch or that IBF World title fight, which fingers crossed we get over the line for you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate your time, Troy. Thanks for jumping on with us.
Cheers, lads.
Take care, mate.
See you in a bit, Jamie. See you in a bit, Luke.
See you later, mate.
Bye.
Wicked, yeah, really good to have Troy on the podcast. Jeremy, I'm getting really into having these guest co-hosts. It gives us a lot to bite into because we know when our listeners will know we'll sit here and we'll talk boxing all day long until the cows come on. But to get somebody on there that's got first-hand knowledge of Josh Kelly, he's fighting this week, getting that kind of insight is priceless.
Oh, priceless! Yeah, it's what boxing podcasts are all about. It's us as the fans. We can talk about our opinions and what we think of the sport, but it's good to have somebody that's been in there. Training it every day, like you said, being in with Josh Kelly and getting that understanding of the game a bit more. From their point of view, and it's good to hear the stories and it's good to hear their opinions on boxing and fellow boxers and what's right and what's wrong kind of thing.
Yeah, so let's get back into it with a fight with Josh Kelly and Murtzaliev IBF Super Welterweight title this Saturday. It's a big fight. It's a big fight for Josh Kelly, and I think at 31 years of age, he's finally coming into his prime. Murtzaliev, by the way, is 33. I didn't realize that. He's not somebody that we've been too noted up on in
Yeah,
recent
not been
years.
too clever.
No, he blew up on the scene with that Tim Tszyu win, and he looked very, very good. He beat Jack Kulkai for the vacant title, so we don't know too much about him. 23 and 0, 17 knockouts or something like that. I think he's got. I'll just check my notes. Yeah, 23 and 0, 17 knockouts. So he's very heavy-handed. But I watched that Tim Tszyu fight back recently. That left hand of his is insane. And Josh Kelly, we seen the Avanesian fight that we touched on. He fell apart in that fight, and yeah, he might have had issues out of the ring and issues with the weight. But for 6 rounds, he looked like pretty boy Josh Kelly. He was floating around the ring. He's got incredible movement. He's got to be really switched on Saturday. Are you thinking at 31 years of age, seemingly more settled in his personal life, that we're going to get the very best of Josh Kelly on Saturday night? He's
Yeah,
going
I
to need to
think
be it.
you can see over the last couple of years he's definitely switched on more. His head seems to be more in the game, and that could just be a thing of maturing. Getting to that point where it's like it's do or die. Because, like we've said, really he should have been fighting for a world title a lot sooner. For whatever reason, we don't know this stuff. Whatever's going on in personal life, we don't know. But what we've always known is he's got the ability and the talent to go there. But like you said and you alluded to before, he kind of, when missing against Davanesian, fell apart. And the one thing I worry about is going in with such a heavy-handed hitter who's a very good boxer themselves. It's not just a case of he's a big power puncher. He boxes very, very smart. Um, that I hope that Josh doesn't start taking a few shots and it's not going his way. Maybe one round here, one round there, it doesn't go his way, and that happens again. But I'd like to think, he's moved on from that. He's matured, and I'd like to think he's sat there going, "No, it's my time."
We've seen with Josh Kelly, and one thing that I do worry about, the Avanesian loss, the Troy Williamson win, he squeezed past Ishmael Davis, and that for me was the gutter, because if or the gutting moment, because if he had fought Liam Smith like he was scheduled to on that bill, I think it was the Daniel Dubois Anthony Joshua bill, Liam Smith
Yeah.
pulled out and they got Davis in as a last minute opponent, which is, as far as last minute opponent goes, Ishmael Davis is a hell of a fighter to get in at 7 or 8 days notice, I think it was. When you got the likes of Ramirez and Corzo and Bia, who we fought last time out, inflated records. Some of them got one loss, zero losses, but they've not really beat anybody of note. And it kind of gives me a feeling of an Anthony Yard. Where Anthony Yard goes from nobody's, with all due respect, nobody's up to the very elite level and gets found out. So Evan Nisham, we know, is a world class fighter. He took his losses to Terence Crawford and whatnot, but he was a very, very good fighter. Is a very good fighter. Josh Kelly came up short there. He's moved up to 154. Apart from Ismail Davis and Troy Williamson, which are domestic wins at the time, there's no real gateway fight there, is there? He's gone from domestic level to world class operators, and that's the worry for me, that we still don't know at 31 years of age what Josh Kelly is or who he is when the going gets tough. Because when it has got going and it has got tough, he's come up short or he's just squeaked by like he did in the Davis fight, and that's going to be the big question mark for me come Saturday night.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think sometimes the theatrics, the showmanship, there's a time and a place for it. I'm not saying he shouldn't do it in the fight, but there's probably a time and a place where maybe not. And like I mentioned before, conserving that energy, being a bit. And again, that probably comes with maturity, knowing when to step on the gas and when to take your foot off the gas.
I think with Josh Kelly, it's interesting as well. You know, the way you can picture a fighter can change over time. And I'm going to go off on one a little bit here, but I remember going back 5 or 6 years, even before the whole drug scandal with Conor Benn, there was a fight announced or rumored, sorry, not announced, at Josh Kelly and Conor Benn. And I remember back then thinking, Josh Kelly's levels are above Conor Benn. He'll tie him up in knots. You know, Conor Benn doesn't need this fight. Fast forward 4, 5, 6 years, and I'm thinking now Conor Benn will steam right through Josh Kelly. You know, it's mad how the tables have turned without him ever fighting each other.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I'm going to disagree with him steamrolling through Kelly, but it is crazy to think that he's on the cusp of going for a world title himself, probably winning one. And you would have said 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it's completely the opposite. You know, Ben never looked like he was probably going to win a world title. And yeah, it's mad. The tables have completely turned. But I'd love to see that fight. I would love to see that fight with them too. I think it's a brawler against an operator, and it'll be very intriguing to see how it played out.
Definitely. Now with Murtzaliev, this like I say, this left hook is the danger punch. Jamie, you're much more tactically astute than I am. Josh Kelly, the mover, is he got to be the matador to the bull of Murtzaliev here?
Yeah, yeah,
But
because
he's also got to get the respect early, though, hasn't he? He
yeah, he's
can't
got
just walk
yeah.
around and go on the back foot.
What he's got it's a tough one because he's going to be on the back foot. He's going to be on the back foot, and that doesn't mean you can't demand respect on the back foot. What I mean by that is if you're going to try and catch and counter, or you're going to try and move and hit, slip, hit, however way you're going to do it, there's got to be something in what you're returning to get his respect. So you've got to make him because he's going to keep coming forward, and but that doesn't mean because you're on the back foot, you're not commanding respect because you can still look at Canelo Crawford, for example. Canelo fought on the front foot the entire fight, but when he was getting hit with certain shots, it all changed. He kept coming forward, but he wasn't as didn't want to let his hands go as much as he would have done in previous fights, or if he probably didn't get clocked early, or he didn't command the respect. So Josh Kelly, even though he's going to be on the back foot, he's got to sting that jab. He's got to throw that right hand with venom when it's there. He's got to make the other opponent question his own throwing. He's got to make him start questioning, oh, you know, do I go? Do I go? Do I not? Is he going to catch me? And that, for me, is how Josh Kelly will win the fight. But it's also a dangerous one to play.
Well, that leads us quite nicely into the predictions because you know the card up there in the northeast, it's got some good local talent on. We've got Josh Padley going for the European title as well. It's great to see him get his opportunities after jumping in against Shakur Stevenson at short notice. But it leads us nicely into our predictions before we move on because this is one of those nights, Jamie. I'm going to go off on a tangent again here, but I love these nights where there's a big UK show and it leads us into a big, massive show in the States. And you're kind of questioning it 10:30, 11. Do I get my head down here? Do I get a couple of hours? Do I sneak a nap in? Because we've got the small matter of Jan 31st following Josh Kelly and Murtzaliev of Shakur Stevenson against Teofimo Lopez for the super lightweight world title stacked card. So yeah, it's just one of those nights. We'll get back to the predictions in a second, but it's just one of those nights, and as a boxing fan, we love it.
Yeah, just being able to, like you said, there's no setting alarms. Get your little kebab or your pizza or your Chinese or your Indian, whatever you're going to have, put the feet up, get the misses in, get the boxing on. And that's what, you know, Fridays and Saturday nights are about here in Britain. And I'm glad that we've got, because we've not had a British fight card, have we? Because of obviously the Atama one went down. And it's been like my mate's been saying every week, what boxing's on? I'm like, mate, it's all 5 a.m. jobs, mate, you know.
Absolutely. Let's get into it with, maybe I'm giving myself a bit of space there to formulate my prediction, but I'm going to give it to us. I'm going to go first. Um, there's an asterisk to this. My prediction is we're going to crown another British world champion a few weeks after Dalton Smith winning one of the finest wins of a British fighter on away soil when he beat Sabriel Matias for the super lightweight world title, stopping him in 5 rounds. Josh Kelly, I think, is going to get a win here that'll go alongside that in terms of great wins by British fighters to win their first world title. I think he's going to be the matador to the bull of Murtzaliev, and he's going to be the pretty boy Kelly that we all hope and dreamt he was going to be in the welterweight division, but he's going to do this in the super welterweight division. He's going to box the lugs off the big feared puncher, and I think he's going to win by unanimous decision. I think it's going to be clear. And the asterisk is, if he doesn't get the respect of Murtzaliev will eat him and he'll do him in 4 rounds. But I'm going to back the Brit. Our boy's going to do it on Saturday night. What say you, Jamie?
I'm going to be a cunt. Sorry.
It's not like
I'm
you.
sorry. I'm sorry. But I want, right, just so everybody knows, I ain't shitting on Josh Kelly. I want Josh Kelly to win the fight, yeah? I want him to win.
See,
Let's
this
not
is
get it
why it
twisted.
works here, because I go with the heart, you go with the head. We'll have to change this
Yeah.
week on week.
But the head is going for a stoppage for is it
Murtzaliev.
I'm terrible. I'm terrible with the Eastern European names, man. It's shocking. I need to brush up on that before I start coming back on here. But yeah, I'm going for him. And madly, I think it'll be a middle round stoppage. But because we're throwing asterisks in there, we'll throw a little asterisks in myself. If Josh can box on the outside and box well and keep his cardio, he could potentially pull off a unanimous decision victory. But like I said, my head is unfortunately going for the stoppage. I don't want it to happen, but from what I've seen of both fighters at this stage, that is where I'm going. And hate me in the comments and come back when Josh Kelly does. Wait, hey, I want to be proven wrong. Come back, everyone tell me you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we look forward to it, guys. Make sure you tune in January 31st on DAZN. I've already given it the build up. We don't need to say much more. Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson. This is one of those super fights, Jamie. One of these fights where we go, you know what, the world's going to stop and watch this, or the world should stop and watch this. We've been screaming for the likes of Gervonta Davis and Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia to get in the mix with each other, and some of these great American talents to get in the mix and to fight. And we've had a couple with Ryan Garcia and Devin and all the shenanigans that went along there, and Ryan getting knocked out by Tank. Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez is elite level boxing, the kind of thing that we lose sleep over, Jamie.
Yeah, it's the top echelons of the sport, the two best coming together. And especially in a division where it's who is the best and they're not all fighting, this is a real markup for boxing. Like you said, everyone should be watching this fight. It's two of the best, and the thing is, you've got the outstanding technical boxer in Shakur Stevenson, but then you've got the powerful, athletic, Teofimo Lopez. The styles are two completely different, and it's going to create a really enticing matchup because it's one of them where I kind of don't know where I'm going to go with it in terms of who I go for.
We've got about 8 or 9 minutes to figure it out.
Well, it's not long enough. I don't know. It's a fence job. I think it's a fence job with this one. Probably leaning more towards Shakur, but yeah, if you're a boxing fan, you have to watch it. But I think it's going to be one of them fights where, do you know when sometimes you can have the two best boxers fight, and some people can like casual boxing fans might say, "Oh, it was boring," but the diehards are like, "Wow, like technically astute." I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be one where even the casuals go, "Wow, what a fight!"
Yeah, it's definitely got all the ingredients in there, and with the WBO Super Lightweight World Title on the line, the Ring Magazine title on the line that's held by Teofimo Lopez. We're looking at Shakur Stevenson here. He's become a 4-weight world champion, won world titles at featherweight, super featherweight. He's the current reigning WBC lightweight world champion. We're potentially looking at greatness before our eyes here, Jamie. And I think sometimes Shakur Stevenson, I don't know what it is, because he's got a great style. He takes on the toughest challenges. He beat Oscar Valdez. He's beat Jamel Herring. He beat William Zepeda last time out. He's going up to fight Teofimo Lopez in his prime, pretty much in his backyard in New York, Madison Square Garden, the mecca of boxing. Shakur Stevenson, he's building a Hall of Fame resume before our very eyes, and for some reason, it just doesn't seem to click, does it? It doesn't seem to click with your everyday boxing fan. People know Ryan Garcia, they know Devin Haney, they know Gervonta Davis. They don't necessarily know Shakur Stevenson in that way. We're not boots on American soil. We're in the UK, and even I get the feeling that he's not very well known even in America.
Yeah, no, he's not. I think that's kind of always been a bit of an issue for him in getting fights. Is he's happy to fight people, and people are like, well, no, because you don't bring anything to this. You're too much of a risk. But one thing he isn't. He's not a social media monster. He's not out there doing all this social media trying to get fans and being Instagram famous. He's not that way inclined. He just loves boxing. Even all his interviews when he talk and you listen to him, he's just a kid who's grew up around boxing that just absolutely adores the sport. And you can tell he's a bit like Crawford, where it genuinely is about legacy. Like, don't get me wrong, you're in the fight game to get paid, and I get that. But once in a while, you come across a certain fighter that's, regardless, they're like, well, the money's going to come because I'm going to win everything anyway. So forget the money side. I'm not focused on that. It'll come. And he's kind of got that mentality, and I like that. And I think that's why he may not get the just rewards from the public, but as a boxing fan, that's what makes me go, do you know what? He's going all the way. And he could be the next superstar that we talk about as who's the greatest of all time. He could end up in that category.
He's definitely got the potential to go there. And I know the win over William Zepeda was one that really impressed you as well.
Oh yeah, massively, because it was one of the thing with Shakur.
I thought Zepeda, by the way, I'm just going to chuck it in there. I didn't think he was going to beat Shakur Stevenson, but I definitely thought he was going to pose more problems than what he did.
Oh, I did. And the thing with Shakur, I said at one point, I remember speaking to somebody and I said, he fought in a way, he was very much on the back foot, and he moved more than he had to do at certain points. And he kind of got this tag of being a runner. And I said, he's not really a runner, but he looked like someone that didn't want to get tagged, that didn't like getting tagged, should I say. Obviously, you don't want to get hit in boxing, that's the whole point. But he kind of looked like when he got tagged, oh, I don't like that. And it kind of made me feel like, oh, do you know, is there a part of his game where he's, and then a few people said to him, oh, you're always running, you're always doing this. And he's gone, all right, sweet, watch. And he's gone in his next fight, he's going to stay in the pocket. I'll just pick him off. I'm there to be it. Can't hit me. And then Zepeda, he enticed him in. All fight. Yeah, oh, you want to trap me on the ropes? Do you? Sweet, trap me. Bum, 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 off, gone. And he just, every time he set to throw it, he just went, nope, bum, 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 bum. He stayed in his face and just went, bum, bum, gone. Let him come back in, bum, bum, gone. And he, over the last few fights he's had, he's completely proven me wrong, where weren't saying he was terrible, but I just felt that, was there something in his game that, I don't think he likes that. I don't think he can do a tear up. But then he goes and he's like, right, sweet, I'll show you. I can have a tear up. I can do it all.
Absolutely. And with Teofimo Lopez, he's another guy that could potentially do it all. He's definitely the puncher of the two. He's certainly able to box. We're not talking about just your pure power against boxing ability. Both guys can mix it up. Shakur can punch. The question mark is whether he's going to take that punch power up through the weights, and is that going to be his undoing? Teofimo Lopez, we know, can whack. His knockout of Richard Comner was highlight reel worthy. The win over Vasily Lomachenko, even though Lomachenko was clawing some round back late, at points in that fight, Teofimo Lopez was boxing out of his skin. And then when he beat Josh Taylor as well, a fight that I thought he was an underdog in. And one of the question marks over Teofimo Lopez is not necessarily just the fight we get in the ring, but the shenanigans out of the ring. That exciting, raw, youthful, bursting through onto the scene, Teofimo Lopez in that Richard Comey fight was one of my favourite memories as a boxing fan. I thought this guy, his nickname's the Takeover, and I thought he was going to take over, but whether it be the input of his dad, Teofimo Senior, being too much, his outlandish comments on social media sometimes, he rubs people up the wrong way. And for me, it's difficult to say this about a two-weight world champion and all the accolades that he's got. He have 3, 4, 5 belts at lightweight, and he's got a couple up at super lightweight. He might not fulfill his potential, and to say that and have those kind of accolades, you don't know which fight he's getting in the ring. He stunk the place out against Jermaine Ortiz, with all due respect. It wasn't the most exciting fight against Arnold Barboza Jr. Teofimo Lopez, he poses just as many questions as answers, doesn't he, ahead of a big fight?
Yeah, he's a bit of an enigma, isn't he?
That's the word, enigma.
Yeah, and it's mad because it works for him in a way, but also doesn't. Like, it massively helps him in the sense of the presence. Like, everybody knows who Teofimo Lopez is. But then, yeah, there's, like you said, there's moments where, he has stunk the place out. But in terms of like raw ability, I love him. He throws punches from angles you wouldn't even think of. You wouldn't even teach people to do that. And that's something that you can't really teach, like that athleticism that he's got. Like the Superman punch against Jock, like who thinks to do something like that, And he did, and it come off. And sometimes when they're that unorthodox, it also helps in a massive way. And it's a weird one, yeah, because since the he won all the belts against Lomachenko, he's sort of been like, his career's not gone like that. Like, he's not gonna, but the opportunities and where he stands and where he's going, it seems to be up and down, up and down. And obviously, I don't know what the situation is on the outside, because I know he had a few issues with Top Rank, didn't he, at one point, and maybe that
Everyone's got issues with Top Rank at the minute. I think they've got no platform to put shows on. Everyone's got issues with Top Rank at the minute.
it's a bit of a nightmare for him. But I don't know. He's a very, very weird, interesting character, and I love him for it. And it's a shame because I don't want either of them to lose, man. I genuinely am a huge fan of both of them. They both bring two totally different styles, two totally different personalities and personas. I really don't want either of them to lose, and I think we're blessed that we've got not just them but the other people in the division. That if they all start fighting, someone's obviously got to lose, but that's what makes it interesting.
But as long as they keep fighting, no, that's the thing. As long as they keep fighting, the loser of this might rebuild and get a shot with Dalton Smith and these other title holders in that division. There's no reason for these fights to keep happening. This is what we was hoping for when these ridiculously named the Four Kings as Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, and Tank Davis, and there was nowhere near the only Four Kings, Duran, Leonard, Hagler, and Hearns. But my point being is that when those four names and Chuck Shakur in there, so you got the five princes, if you like, we never cared who won or lost. You've got your fan favorites and the bad guys, if you like. But in terms of the actual sporting contest, we just want to see these guys mix it. The guy who loses on Saturday, they can go and rebuild, and there's plenty of opportunities, and they're young enough. That's the key thing as well. They're still young enough to rebuild and come back into the mix. So long may these fights continue, but I'm not going to let you skip over it anymore. Unless you're saying draw, we're going to skip past it. But I'm going to bowl over to you first. What's your prediction for Saturday night?
Draw.
I knew that was coming.
Do you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with a unanimous decision victory for Shakur, but it won't be. I don't think it'll be a landslide. I think he'll win it by a round or two.
Interesting. I'm gonna go with the underdog here. As great as Shakur Stevenson is, similar to Lomachenko, greatness will only take you so far until size becomes too much of a factor. Lomachenko ran into that against Devin Haney in a fight. I thought he won, but he lost it officially. Same with the new way. We're worried that he's going to go up the weights too much, and if he steps up to super featherweight and whatnot, what might go wrong there, or featherweight, what might go wrong there. Shakur Stevenson going for a fourth world title in a fourth weight division, I think he's coming up against the wrong one here. I think Teofimo Lopez, I said before that he's in it, like you say, an enigma. But he performs in the big fights. Jermaine Ortiz maybe didn't get him going. Arnold Barboza Jr. didn't really get him going. There was no fans there. This is Madison Square Garden. This is against a pound for pound operating Shakur Stevenson. And I think Teofimo Lopez will be looking and going, the pound for pound list, it belongs to me. It's the takeover. And I think he wins on points, to be honest with you. I think there'll be a couple of knockdowns in there. Shakur won't be able to get the respect to Teofimo Lopez. His boxing ability early, we'll see him win rounds, but I think we're going to see a couple of knockdowns late in the fight that will swing it into Teofimo Lopez's favour. And I see him winning on the cards in a competitive fight, but I think knockdowns are going to be crucial. Size is going to be crucial, and that'll play a major factor in Teofimo Lopez retaining his world titles.
I like it. So it's the first time where we've fully gone against each other, isn't it?
Yeah, it's due. It's due. We like a bit of back and forth. This is another one of those cards as well. It's got the ring involved, and we know with the ring comes a lot of money, which means stacked on the cards. And with this, Keyshawn Davis against Jermaine Ortiz, the guy that we was talking about there with Teofimo Lopez, he pushed him all the way. He also pushed Vasily Lomachenko all the way. His only two losses were to those two pound for pound ranked fighters. Keyshawn Davis, he disgraced himself last time out. Let's have it right. Yeah, he's a great talent, a great fighter. Lost his belt on the scales, and what was he, 4-5 pounds over at the time, and he's not fought since. This is a comeback fight. He's moved up to 140. He, again, could be another player in that division. He's talking about taking this fight, winning, and going straight to 147. I think he wants to see Devin Haney up at 147. So that's something to look forward to. But we're not going to look past Jermaine Ortiz. But your thoughts on this fight and your thoughts on Keyshawn?
I think Keyshawn's a good fighter. I think he's another one that's future world champion in making. Surprising that he's going to go up to 147. That probably indicates that he's probably even struggling at the weight of 140. For him to just come out rant, maybe it is he wants David Haney, but it also maybe have a factor that Shakur is now also at 140 and they're good close mates. But I think it's a good fight. And it's going to be a good fight to see where Keishan is at this stage of his career now, because he's literally knocking on the door fighting for a world title himself. So this is where we see, right, let's see what you're made of now, because Ortiz is no slouch. I think Davis should win the fight, but he's going to come through a bit of fire in there, and let's see what you're really about. That, are you going to extinguish the fire, or are you going to let it consume you? And I think this is one of them fights where you find out about a fighter that's been bigged up like Keishan has.
Yeah, quick predictions on this fight, Jamie, before we move on. I'm going Keishan Davis, a unanimous decision points. I don't think it'll be necessarily a fan-friendly fight, but I think it's a fight where he'll show up, and get the win unanimous on the cards. What say you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree for once on this podcast. We are in unison on that. I think he will take it in a point shot. Well, I was going to say a point shutout then, but no, he's going to take it on points.
Carlos Adames, he defends his WBC middleweight world title against Amo Williams. This, on paper, for me, is a cracking fight. We've got Carlos Adames in his prime, looking to defend that title. He was looking for unification fights with Janibek. We know he's got his issues out the ring with failed drug test and whatever else. So that fight didn't really come to fruition. Erizlandi Lara in the mix as well. They was all looking to get fights on. It's not come to fruition. Up steps Amo Williams. Himself, he's had issues away from the ring. He's come back. He took the loss to Hamza Shiraz. He's come back. He's rebuilt. Goes in there for his first world title. Is this a fight Amo can win, or are you sticking with the class, the proven quality of Carlos Adames?
I'm sticking with Adames, yeah. Funnily enough, and I was, shout out Kieran Farrell. I was doing some training with him just before the Shiraz and Carlos Adames fight. And Kieran will tell you, I sat and I asked him, I said, what's your opinion on this fight? Who do you think wins? And Kieran, fair enough, he was like, I don't know too much about Adames. I've heard stuff about him, but obviously I'm going to go Shiraz. And I was like, I think he's going to lose, mate. I said, go and watch the highlights of Adames, go watch the way he fights. I can see him pulling off the upset, which it's not an upset because he was,
He was underdog. He was underdog against Shiraz.
Yeah,
So you're right in saying the upset, yeah.
It was weird to say that it was an upset, but I backed him from day one, and I probably sound like a prick actually to a British boxing fan. Our fans must think fucking hell, he don't back our fighters, and it's not that I don't. I'm just sometimes you have to look at it from a boxing point of view, and you just can't sometimes put your heart where it doesn't need to go. And I love Shiraz, and Shiraz will win his next fight against Pacheco. I think it's a foregone conclusion, and he'll stop him. But I backed Adames in that fight. The way he fights, the way he puts pressure on you, and the way he can put the combinations together and stay out of trouble when he's up close and personal. I think it'll be too much for Amo. And I think that we're going to probably see a stoppage in that fight.
We love tangents here, and you don't get it anywhere else. Let's Talk Boxing podcast. I asked the man for a Carlos Adames, Amo Williams prediction, and he gives you a prediction for Hamza Shiraz against Diego Pacheco in the prediction.
We don't do it that normal.
We love it. But I'd love to see Amo Williams win this fight, but I don't think he does. And I'm with you here on Carlos Adames. One thing that people mix up sometimes is popularity versus ability. We've been saying that the middleweight division is stagnant at times. We've seen Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn sell out Tottenham Hotspur Stadium twice in mega fights, British domestic fights of the year. And then we're saying, if Chris Eubank wins, he'll go and win a world title, like it was a given, that he was going to go and beat Lara, like he was going to beat Janibek. And Carlos Adames falls into that category of, these are world champions and good world champions, really good world champions. It's not just a dead division, like they're not great fighters. They've just not got that marketability yet. And Carlos Adames is certainly one of those fighters where he's a great fighter, just not necessarily greatly followed, if that makes sense. And for me, I think I'd love to see Amo Williams do it, just because I think he's got the personality and the fire and the charisma to really ignite that middleweight division. I think it'd be good for the sport, good for the division if Williams to win. But I'm big on Adames, similar to you. I thought he won that Hamza Shiraz fight. Hamza Shiraz, did he or did he not have issues with his hand? We'll never know how much of a factor that played. But Adames, for me, beats Shiraz, and I think he beats Williams, and potentially a late stoppage. He's got it in in the bag of tricks there to stop Amo Williams. Also on the card, Bruce Shushu Carrington. He's going for a world title, the vacant WBC featherweight world title, or super featherweight world title, sorry, taking on Carlos Castro. Shushu's one of these fighters that's been on these top ranked cards. Everyone's talking about him. He's got 9 knockouts from 16 wins, 0 defeats. It's time to shine. I think he's there against a much more experienced opponent in Carlos Castro, but a fight that Shushu will show up, show out, and win that maiden world title and be another star of American boxing.
Yeah, America seems to be blowing up at the moment. They've got a lot of good talent coming through, because they had that period where, there wasn't a lot coming through, was it, in terms of prospects and whatnot. And over the last 5, 10 years, well, so over the last 5 years, they've absolutely blown up. There's so many different names across so many different divisions, and Shushu's just another one. Like the way he fights, like his style, and I think this is a tough fight for him. And again, it's just like Keyshawn, it's a big test for you to see. Look, we think you're going to win this fight, but we know you're going to come against some challenges in the fight, and what we want to see is how you overcome them challenges, because we know you can win, we know what you're about, but when you're in them moments, what are you really about? But I think Shushu's one of them that will relish being in the fire.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to that. Finally on the card, obviously there's prospects on, but in terms of the main section of the card, Jarrell Big Baby Miller against Kingsley Iber. We don't know too much about Kingsley. 16-2-1 record. I'm going to go out on a limb here, Jamie. Jarrell Miller. We spoke on this podcast before. Injected steroids, failed test. But I'm going to contradict myself slightly. You know the Jarrell Miller we've seen since that whole bullshit. The way he fought against Daniel Dubois, I thought he beat Andy Ruiz on the Crawford Madrimov card. In the ring, he's shown me a lot that I like, and it's proper conflicting myself because I look at him and I think you shouldn't be in the sport. And you watch him fight, and he shows a lot of heart, and you think, "Fuck me, man! If you didn't juice up, I'd be really behind you, but I just can't. I just can't do
Yeah.
it." He's
But
shown me a lot of heart, a lot of ability. He's happy to go in there and trade. He has no other way of fighting. He's a big man. He's not going to go on the back foot and box circles around people. He's in there to trade and throw leather. But I just can't do it. I just can't do it.
But do you know what you said then about the juice inside, and obviously some of the wins that he's had? But he's been popped before them wins and after them wins. So the question is, and then wins are they synthetic? Are they produced by taking steroids? Because he's, like you said, he's not one that's popped for the whole contaminated. Like, he's actually had to inject some of the stuff that he's been popped for. So it's a weird one, because it's fun to watch. It's fun to be around the press conferences, and that he makes a lot of noise. But at the same time, when me and you are sitting and we're talking about drug cheats and night, there's got to be a certain. He's a weird one with Miller. I don't know. He brings a lot of eyeballs and whatnot, but at the same time, we're not fans of the drug cheats, and it's not just once. It's been more than once with him, and he's probably going to win on Saturday night. But I hope he doesn't win, just because the sport don't really need it. Like, as funny as you are and all that, it doesn't necessarily dictate that you get to juice.
Absolutely. We look forward to Saturday night and every single bit about it. Let's look back. Las Vegas last week, Jamie. Andy Cruz bidding to make history in just his 7th pro fight. He was stepping in with IBF lightweight world champion Raymond Murataya and came up just short in, for me, what was a cracking fight. I stayed up from 12 till 6. I watched the undercard. I watched the co-main event, which was dog shit because Khalil Cole missed weight by 8 pounds. Still went in there and looked sluggish, looked slow against an aged Jesse Hart. No disrespect to Jesse Hart, he fought his heart out, and he, no pun intended, and really went for it. And Khalil Cole, after his comeback win, he took his first loss, he bounced back, beat the guy that beat him well, misses weight in this fight, and puts on a terrible performance, and somehow squeaks out a victory. In my 6-hour boxathon of watching this Matchroom show, the main event saved the card for me. I'm not sure how much of the undercard you've seen yourself, Jamie, but the main event, Andy Cruz and his bid to make history, as I say, come up just short against Raymond Murtzaliev in a potential, maybe not fight of the year, but a fight that needs to be respected because it was non-stop for 12 rounds. I think it was majority for Murtzaliev. I think one judge had it level, one judge had it by 8 to Murtzaliev, which I'm not quite sure about, and one had it by 6 or 10 and 8 or something like that. It was fairly convincing on 2 cards, and the one had it a draw. Did you agree with the result?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the right fighter won. Did not agree with that 118 card though. Don't know what they were smoking. But and the other one as well. I didn't understand the draw. As good of a fight it was, it definitely weren't a draw. And Cruz had his moments in the fight. He had some very successful moments, but ultimately the more success and the more moments came from his opponent. And the size on the day, I think, just played a big factor. Like when we're talking about getting that respect off your shots, Cruz was landing a lot on the back foot, but he could not discourage him from like I said before, having to then second guess what he's going to throw at him now because every time I do this, I'm getting. Whereas there was nothing that Cruz threw at him where it was like, right, I need to maybe just slow down a bit coming in, and it worked a treat for him because as the fight went on, it was going more and more in his favour. And no disrespect to Cruz, what a performance in only his 7th fight against an undefeated fighter who's 23-0, and there's no shame in that, and he'll come back stronger from that loss. Where he goes from it, whether he drops down or he stays in this division, is one to be seen. But I think he's made for this. He's made for boxing. He's made for the industry. He's made to be around that world level, and he'll come back and win a world title again. And maybe a couple of years down the line, they can have a rematch, and it could end up being totally different.
One thing that really did surprise me when they stepped in the ring, and we often see it when fighters rehydrate after a weigh-in. I know the IBF have got strict rules with the £10 and everything else that goes along with being in the IBF world title scene. You see the weigh-ins and all the footage of fight week. I didn't realize the size difference until they stepped in that ring, and they come together for that first face-off right before the bell's about to go. Muay looked 2 or 3 weight classes above Andy Cruz, and Andy Cruz, yeah, he's got all the power in the world. Similar to what I said about Shakur Stevenson, is the power going to carry up? But Andy Cruz has been a career lightweight. We've seen him get, is it 3 knockouts in 6 wins before Saturday night? My first thought was, and I tweeted it pretty much straight away, that he should drop down and there's big opportunities there for him at super featherweight. We've got Emmanuel Navarrete and Sugar Nunez coming up in a massive fight in Mexico. I'm looking forward to breaking that down on the podcast as well in a couple of weeks. Andy Cruz could get in the mix there because he's got the skills that pay the bills, and I think he could win a world title down at super featherweight. There's no marks on him doing that. But Raymond Murtzaliev, again, I take my hat off to him because I thought this was Andy Cruz's fight to win and to win well, and Murtzaliev stuck with him. Like I say, he's a big lightweight in defending that title for the first time. Do we see Murtzaliev go into unifications? Do you think Andy Cruz sticks around at 135, potentially looking at Shakur Stevenson if he comes back down to he said on Saturday night on the broadcast actually that he's 140 and he's back down to 135. Andy Cruz, Shakur Stevenson, that's your boxing purist porn, that, isn't it? That's a proper
Yeah,
fight.
that is a battle of the technicians. That.
But does he stick around for that kind of fight? Is Shakur Stevenson a more winnable fight for him? Because they'll be similar kind of size. Shakur Stevenson's not a massive fighter. Who else have we got as champion down there? Abdullah Mason. He's another one coming in off that fantastic fight with Sam Noakes. Is Andy Cruz going to stay in the mix there? Is Muay going to hunt down those unifications?
If you cruise, I think you want to probably drop down. Like you said, the size difference was quite evident on the night. I know he's chasing Keyshawn Davis, but yeah, I think him and Shakur would be a really good fight if it was at 135. And so Abdullah Mason as well. I think that's where they're the 2 types of boxers that he can fight where he gets to really showcase his boxing ability. Because they're not going to come forward and try and pressure him and, hurt him bad and upset his rhythm. They're going to come into boxing. It's going to be it'll be a chess match, and that favors Andy Cruz more, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Even though Shakur's better than his last opponent, it's weird because styles make fights, and it will not be as easy for Shakur as it was for what's his name? Sorry,
Muay
yeah. But it's weird that's how boxing is though sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it was a good main event that saved a bang average card. Let's clear up some topics and news before we close out, Jamie. We're going to try and implement this part of the podcast that we'll do our previews and reviews when we start getting into the thick of it, like we are with these double and triple headers. Don Charles, the former trainer of Daniel Dubois for a couple of months, and now the new trainer of Daniel Dubois. The Tony Sims partnership didn't last too long for the former IBF heavyweight world champion Dubois. He's looking to plot a way back into the heavyweight title scene, potentially fighting Fabio Wardley. He was down there with Tony Sims and Conor Benn and everybody else that's in that stable. Johnny Fisher, Craig Richards, a couple of others that are unfortunately, Jimmy Sains, George Liddard. I'm not quite sure. I'd love to be a fly on the wall. You know, you're going to get these statements and press releases, and it's going to be worded very respectfully. But I'd love to know the nitty gritty of this is why I'm not fucking working with him anymore. You know, tell us the juicy gossip. Don't give us
Yeah,
the
yeah.
PR spin on it. Like let us know. But yeah, you was the one that wanted to bring it up on the podcast. So yeah, tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, just totally wasn't expecting it at all. It didn't seem like that's where it were going to go, but I feel like not Dubois, but the team around him. Not Sam Jones, because I know Sam Jones is new to the team and he's trying to make changes. But like his dad and stuff like that. I feel like Dubois has got to be the main attention, and that is, I think that's maybe why it didn't work down with Tony Sims. Um,
Okay, so he's gone from being obviously he's a very big man, but he's gone from like a big fish in a big pond of fighters there, and he wants him to be the biggest fish in a one man pond with Don
yeah,
Charles.
yeah, yeah. That's the only thing I can think of. It's because Tony Sims is a great fighter, and you just rallied off a load of names there. Like you can learn from them. You can learn from being around them. You can learn from sparring some of them. So it was a bit of a shock, and it's no disrespect to John Charles. I'm more shocked because of how it came about that they weren't working together. And Don was very unhappy about how it came about in what he said in was it Talks, but he did that interview and he was like, you know, he weren't best pleased. Um, so to do a full 360 is a bit crazy, and I think
But also to do a
partly,
full 360 though without a fight in between. That's the most bizarre.
yeah, yeah, that's it. He's not even had the opportunity to see how he would have gone out there, and it's a bit of a strange one. But I'm happy because I rate Don Charles, and I think if you're a heavyweight boxer, he's certainly the man. If you're in Britain, that you want to be edging towards his knowledge and his record speaks for itself. And I for one, was shocked when he originally got rid of him. It felt like the toys would come out the pram, the kind of thing. Why they got rid of him in the first place. If I were Don Charles, I probably would have said, "No, mate, I'm not coming back." But I'm glad he is. I love Don Charles and love seeing him in action and being in and around the game.
Definitely talking about the heavyweight division as well last week. And now it's going to get quite tedious because we're going to have to talk about it. We are going to have to bring it up. But until we start seeing fights signed, it's going to get tedious. Last week we sat here and was pulling the bones out of Alexander Usyk and Deontay Wilder. Was that going to happen? What's potentially next for Tyson Fury and his ring return? And in just 7 short days in between last week's pod and this week's pod, we've gone from Tyson Fury potentially against Brandon Moore. An interview with Brandon Moore is available on the SimBoxx YouTube channel, by the way. And he chucked his hat in there. We was talking about Tyson Fury and Brandon Moore, Tyson Fury and Arslanbek Makhmudov, Tyson Fury wanting a comeback fight and then potentially fighting Fabio Wardley, Fabio Wardley potentially fighting Daniel Dubois. And then we get on to Usyk, Usyk Wilder, Usyk Andy Ruiz, Wilder, Chisora, as it stands, now seems to be the most likely outcome out of all those fighters, all those great fighters, potentially great fights that could be made. It's now looking most likely that Derek Chisora, Deontay Wilder, April is the mooted date in the UK. Sky Sports box office. This is where it starts getting weird. So Deontay Wilder, American heavyweight, former WBC, long-time title holder, very well known on these shows. But Derek Chisora coming off of Allen's win, looking to get an IBF world title shot. That's really not gone anywhere, even though he was in number one or mandatory or something like that. That's gone nowhere. He's now looking at fight Deontay Wilder. It's on Sky Sports box office, not the Zone with Queensbury, who he's promoted by. It's with Misfits Pro, am I right in saying it's Callis Sauerland, Nissa Sauerland are involved with the promotion of it. I'm getting a headache now trying to put it into words.
It's
What I'm
out there,
thinking.
it is.
It's not.
It's out there, mate. It's there's a lot of people trying to get hold of that pie. You know what I mean? There's a lot of fingers in there. I'd be like, no, just get your fingers out, mate. It's my pie. What are you doing? It's weird.
That's the
It's
tagline. Let's stop boxing, episode 14. Get your fingers up my pie.
Yeah, do it. Boom. But yeah, I really don't know why there's so many people involved, different promotional bodies. It's not Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. Do you know? Like it's a bit strange. But it's what I'm for. I think you've got one of the biggest hitters of all time and a guy who just walks forward and basically uses his head to block punches. So it could go either way. It could be an absolute barnstorm, and in a weird way, it could be a fight that reignites that killer in Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be a guest host on the Proper Boxing podcast. Anyone that is watching or listening to us tonight, I implore you to go and check those guys out. They're very, very good at what they do. And I was on there with Sonny and John, and Sonny does bits on his own channel, Proper Boxing, proper boxing channel. He does bits with his own and everything else. He's a really good guy, and yeah, I was lucky enough to be a co-host on them on their podcast, and I was talking to them about this fight, and my argument was, I think this is the only time in history where I would have been okay with Derek Chisora fighting Deontay Wilder where it's still safe for him. Because at any other time, it would have been like, no, 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 no. Derek Chisora's
Yeah.
tailor-made for Deontay Wilder at his best. But obviously, Deontay Wilder's not at his best anymore. So now I'm thinking, is this a safe fight for Deontay Wilder to take? It really is an intriguing fight. And it's not often you say that about a 42-year-old heavyweight and a 40-year-old heavyweight who's both long past the best days. But it makes so much sense, weirdly, and that's why I do think it'll happen. It's very close to being announced, from what I believe. Um, yeah, weirdly, it makes that lack of sense that it makes sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's
no,
that
I agree.
absurd. It
I know
makes
what.
sense.
Yeah,
You
I
know
know
what
where
I
you're
mean?
going.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, 100% know
so
where
I'm
you're
I'm
going.
all, I'm all for it. And yeah, we could see Derek Chisora absolutely ragdoll him. He's going to be much heavier than him, much stronger than him. But at the same time, he's there to be hit. And if Deontay Wilder can find that one hitter quitter one last time, that'd be an amazing story as well. Both ends of it, Derek Chisora going out 50 fights and winning his last fight against a big name, Deontay Wilder, and then Deontay Wilder having one last hurrah, one last big right hand, and knocking Derek Chisora out. Yeah, I'm all for it. Sign me up.
Yeah, same. It's weirdly enough, 5 years ago we wouldn't be saying that, but now, like, it's so mad how it makes sense now, but not 5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one that I did get hold of last week as well, and I was asked not to put it anywhere, and it actually made me feel like a bit in the know. It made me feel like I actually knew stuff that other people didn't know until 24 hours later. Johnny Fisher and Jamie TKV looking very, very, very likely for the British heavyweight title, and I thought Johnny Fisher might have wanted one or two more fights before going at a title. I think British title level is, I don't want to say he's ceiling because he could improve and he could get better, but from what we've seen with the loss to Dave Allen and the performance since on that Monaco card, which didn't feel very inspiring, goes into that TKV fight for the British title, and I think that's a great opportunity for him. I'm not sure it's one that he's going to win, but yeah, I got wind of that the day before it went on social media, so yeah, I felt a little bit in the know for once.
There you are, there, breaking news by Luke.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on a potential Johnny Fisher Jamie TKV fight?
I think it's a good fight for Jamie TKV. I don't think it's a great fight for Johnny Fisher. I think you're right. Johnny probably needs one more outing to get that confidence back, and especially Jamie coming off a big win over Fraser Clark in the manner he did as well. It's he's the man in the moment. He's the confidence man, and Johnny Fisher's trying to get that back. And I think, yeah, it's I don't know. I respect him for going in and fighting him, but I think it's one fight too soon at this stage, and I think he just needs to settle down. And I think personally, if they fight, Jamie TKV stays as British champion at this stage. Obviously, things could change further on down the line. Johnny Fisher can come and do better. He's got the years ahead of him. But right now, no, I think it's Jamie TKV's to lose. But it's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, we look forward to a potential fight announcement there. Jamie, anything else you want to add before we clear it up?
No, I think we've covered quite a bit today. We've very, very knowledgeable.
Absolutely. It's been a great podcast. As always, I'd like to thank Troy Williamson for jumping on. I'd like to thank you all for watching and listening. As I always say, it's very much appreciated if you can hit that subscribe button, that follow button, wherever you consume our content. If you can leave us a little review, it does us very well with the algorithms. We're all about trying to build our following here on the Let's Talk Boxing podcast. It's all appreciated. And I'd like to thank Jamie for joining us on the podcast this week. Another cracker, Jamie.
I didn't think I was getting a thank you then. Because I was going to make a joke, going, all right, yeah, don't thank me then. But no, thank you very much for having me again. Thank you for having me part of the team. Loving every minute of it, and can't wait for the boxing this weekend that's coming up. Can't wait to talk about it the following Monday, and I can't wait to see who we reel in as a guest next time.
Absolutely. We look forward to it, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. As I say, hit that subscribe button. This has been Let's Talk Boxing. I've been Luke. He's been Jamie. We'll see you next week.